performance appraisal is. So performance appraisal evaluates the employee's performance based on how he or she has performed in the immediate past. Example. So when I said I want to carry out the performance appraisal of Emmanuel, okay, what I'm effectively doing is to review. Say, for instance, we are in September now, okay? So I want to review what Emmanuel has done from January up until the end of August. That is performance appraisal. That's basically what performance appraisal is. So looking at what is it that he has done, okay? It could be that I've set some goals or I've given him some targets that he needs to achieve. So I will be reviewing what he has done between this period, which is January to August. Okay, so that's performance appraisal. So it evaluates, performance appraisal basically evaluates the employee's performance based on how he or she has performed in the immediate past. Okay, so it could be a quarter, it could be half year, it could be the full year. Then performance management. Performance management now proactively. So you can see there's a difference now. Performance management proactively manages an employee's performance. Okay, so I'm proactively managing the employee's performance and ensures that the employee has accomplished all the goals, the vision, the mission, and core values of the organization. So I'm not just looking at what you've done in the past. I'm looking at what you've done, okay, in terms of performance management. How has it contributed to accomplishing the goals, the vision, the mission, and the core value of the organization? So I need to check with us. Are we still together? Can I get a double yes in the...
Yes, we are here.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, so that's the difference between performance appraisal and performance management. One is just looking at the immediate past. The other looks at both immediate past and also looks forward. Okay, how do we then check to see whether you are helping us to accomplish that big picture of the organization? Now, coming down to the topic that we are looking at today, for you to successfully appraise or manage the performance of any employee, you need to have certain things in place. And if those things are not in place, everyone will just be running towards different direction. And at the end of the day, the organization will suffer for it. Okay. So for your performance management or appraisal to be successful, you need to ensure, like as defined, we're looking at the goals of the organization, we're looking at the vision, and based on the subtopic, we want to look at the business, the objective of that particular business. Okay, that is where we have these people, and that's where we are measuring. So it starts first. Okay, it starts first with what does the organization want to achieve, and what the organization wants to achieve is tied to the business objective. What is the business objective? When you've agreed what the business objective is, there is then the need to come up with a strategic plan, okay, for that particular organization. What is the strategic plan? What are the things that you want to look at? And some of the things that performance management or will address, okay, some of the organizational goals that an organization will want to address could be, one, to improve the organizational performance. So let's say you are a company, in fact, every business is in the business of buying and selling. Okay? You are selling something. Either you are selling a product or you are selling a service. And so you want to look at your performance in terms of what you are selling. Is it the turnover? You also want to look at in terms of quality of service that you are providing. So Organizations will have goals around different areas that they want to measure. So the first one could be to improve organizational performance. It could also be to use the, like I said, apart from improving the organizational performance, you want to look at how do you align individual and organizational objectives. You know, you have different people working in the organization. Everybody has their own agenda. Okay. The performance management system would enable you, if it's done right, to align the individual's objective to the organizational objective. And then the other thing you also want to do, it could be the culture. You want to develop a certain culture. So you then need to deploy a performance system that will help you improve or develop a certain performance culture. Then the other thing could be to improve the individual performance, to align individual behavior to organizational values. So, you know, I talked about values, mission. The performance appraisal or management system also provides you an opportunity. It becomes like a basis, okay? It provides you a basis for personal development. So let's say you review the performance of an employee and they are not achieving their targets, okay? If they are not achieving their target, it therefore means that something is wrong. Either it could be that they are lacking the skill that they need, okay? If they are lacking the skill that they need to be able to deliver on that role, that's an opportunity for development. And then your performance system could also inform some decisions with regard to reward. Okay, so these are some of the things that the performance system will help you do. And for you to effectively do this, okay, so I've talked about the organizational objective. What is the objective of deploying, or what is the objective of actually setting the business? Okay, the objective of setting the business will determine the kind of people that you need in the organization, will determine the kind of goals that you will set for them. Okay, if they are in sales, if they are in finance, if they are in HR, if they are in any support function, that will determine what sort of goal they need to. So the support functions are supposed to help the the customer-facing functions to be able to achieve their goal. So be it sales of product or be it sales of service. So those who are behind are supporting those activity, the core business of the organization. If you take maybe, for instance, a telecom organization now, they want to be able to make sure that more people acquire their telephone lines, and not only acquire the telephone lines, they want to make sure that more people are making calls using data to be able to get their job done. Okay, and so there are people who are behind the scene that will support the technical team that is making the system to continue to run. So everyone have different targets. Okay, so that is that with the initiative. So the objective is key. Okay, then the next thing that you need to now gather in terms of data. Are you still all hearing me? Because I can see my internet is fluctuating.
Yes, I can't hear you.
Good. Okay. Okay, good. So we're together. So there's some feedback. Okay. So so what I was saying is there's need for us now to determine the data that we need. So say, for instance, the objective or the performance management goal of the organization is to improve organizational team performance. There are certain measures you need to begin to look for, okay? Data that you need to put together that will make that possible. So some of the measures you might want to look at could be increasing organizational profitability, okay? Increasing the profitability of the organization or increasing the profitability of the team. Say if you have a sales team and your sales team is broken down into regions or branches, okay? Now the business goal is to achieve, let's say 1 million, let's say 100 million is the goal, okay? And if you have two teams, you've split this goal to the two teams. So One team, team A will bring in 50 million, the other team B will bring in 50 million. What data will you be looking for? Is the sales performance of each of these teams. If team A achieves 50 million and team B achieves 30 million, the organization has not achieved its goal. Okay, so these are some of the things that you want to begin to track. So if it's to improve the performance or profitability of that particular organization. So you might be looking at something like growth in revenue or customer satisfaction. So if customer satisfaction is what you want to measure, then the data that you need to put together that will help you. Let's say, for instance, you want to be, there's a bank in the country that says that they are the one customer bank, okay? Now, what they are trying to tell us is that every customer is number one in their organization. So when you come, you'll be treated as an individual. For them to treat you as an individual, they need to know so much about you so that when you come in there, you receive a personalized service. And that can only be achieved if they have enough information about this one customer. They know who this one customer is. They know what the one customer likes. They know the one customer's birthday, so that on their birthdays, they're able to celebrate them. They maybe even know something about their family, so that when something is going on in their family, their children's birthday, the customer's wedding anniversary, they're able to celebrate. So you need to be able to, you need to put the data together. So invariably, what I'm saying is, what you want to measure will determine the kind of data that you want to put together. Okay, so if the performance management goal is to improve organizational or team performance, which could be, you could be looking at profitability for that particular, how profitable is that particular team. Okay, when they've generated their revenue, you look at the costs of managing the team. Is the team profitable or not? That's something you want to put together. Revenue, what was the revenue last month? What was the revenue, or what is the revenue this month? Something you want to measure. Customer satisfaction, how happy is the customer or the customers that you deal with, okay? For you to be able to gather that information, you need to deploy, say, for instance, a survey form that will measure how happy the customer is when they relate with the team members. Then the other thing that you might want to look at, if your performance management goal is about improving individual performance, that's the people now who work in these teams, okay? The individual performer, people who work in the organization. What data do you need to look at? So the measures you might want to be looking at is the quality and frequency of the employee and manager conversation. So for an employee to improve in their performance, there has to be continuous conversation between the manager and the employee. If that conversation does not take place about expectation, okay, it therefore means that you need to document the expectation. So if you hire someone today and you just throw them at the job because they say they are a salesperson, you don't tell them what they need to sell. You don't even tell them the type of client that you are trying to sell to. Okay. They will sell to all Dick and Harry. And at the end of the day, maybe they run everywhere. And because they are not focused, they are not targeted in their selling, they bring you all sorts of customers, and those might not be the ones that will help you make the kind of money that you want to make as an organization. And then you will now say, but I told you I'm an expert, where you're coming from, you should be doing well, and I can't see what value you're adding to my organization. So the challenge is that the manager has not sat down with the employee to agree what is it that they need to do. So you need to have that conversation, clear expectation, document what it is you want the employee to do, and have continuous conversation, regular conversation, not have one at the beginning of the year and you wait until the mid-year before you have a second conversation. No, have continuous conversation, have check-ins, and document these conversations. All that you document will be useful, okay, for carrying out the performance appraisal and ensuring that you're managing the performance of this particular employee. Then the second thing that you might want to look at in terms of measures, if your goal is to improve the individual performance, is the objectives that you are setting. Okay. How many objectives are you setting for this particular employee? The number is key. Number, if you set so much, let's say you have 20, 30 objectives that you want an individual to okay. So let's say you have 20, 30 objectives that you want the individual to achieve within a specified period of time. This person will be chasing too many objectives, and at the end of the day, they will fail. So you need to reduce the objective to a number that is manageable, okay? And that also ties to the organization. So when you are setting the organizational objective, how many objectives are you really setting for the organization? If you said that the organization is going to do 1,000, 1 million things, at the end of the day, you will discover that you have started all the 1 million activities or 1 million goals, and every one of them is half done. Okay. But if you set between 3 to 5 objectives, this is what you want to achieve in this year. And for me, I will usually advise organizations to have a short-term and a long-term plan or objective of what you want to achieve. So within the short term, you could have a long list of 10 things you want to achieve. And you say these 10 things over the next 5 years, these are the 10 things that we want to achieve. But in year one, we're going to focus just on 2 or 3. And so you put all your energy in achieving those 2 or 3 goals. That's the same thing you do with the individual, okay? Make sure that the objectives are quality objectives, so that those objectives tie to what the organization wants to achieve. So the other thing that we also want to look at is if the focus of the performance management or the goal of performance management is to encourage performance development, then you need to start looking at data on the amount of personal development activity that you want the employee to carry on. How many personal development activities do you want? In my organization, what we normally would do is that everyone is expected to go through or undertake at least one performance development, personal development activity. Okay, you can do more, but the minimum is just one. Okay, so the minimum is just one. So if you achieve that one, then fine. And this one would have to be tied to the job that you are carrying out. So engage in a personal development activity that will help you to improve the way you deliver on your job. Then the next ones or the others that you might want to engage will now be looking forward. What do you want to achieve? How do you want to see yourself grow in the organization? So you might take on another personal development activity that will help prepare you for tomorrow. So the first one is to prepare you for today, what you're currently doing, and the next one is to prepare you for what you're doing tomorrow. So you begin to identify the measures. Like I said, the measures will determine what sort of data do you need to put together and how does this contribute to the organization. So take, for instance, right now, because of the pandemic, people and organizations their operations have been disrupted. Organizations are now beginning to build change their business model, okay? And because they are changing business model and they want to become a digital organization, it means that the skills that are required within the organization is changing. So the people that you have within your team, you now need to reskill them, upskill some of them, okay? So if that is what we need to do for the organization to achieve its goal, you then need to identify what is X good at. What can we then do? Do we need to reskill this person or do we need to upskill them so that they are able to help us achieve our goal? Okay. Now, still on the performance development, if we encourage performance development, the other measure you want to also look at is the frequency and the quality of feedback that is given to this particular individual. How often should I have a performance development conversation with the employee? And that is what you need to put together. So if we then want to measure the performance of the employee and the line manager, all these activities, this data that we've gathered, the measures that we've set, will then be what we would use to measure whether we've achieved the goal or we've not achieved the goal. And if we've achieved the goal, how is it improving our numbers? Like I said, every business, irrespective of what it's set to do, is out there to make money. Okay, make money, make impact. Now, if the goal is to increase employee motivation and engagement, there are certain measures you need to begin to look at. The first one will be employee engagement survey results. Okay, so you need to keep a record of all the results from the first time you started, which will serve as the baseline results, and then based on that feedback, you would have carried out some initiative or activities to improve motivation and engagement in the organization. Then you conduct the survey again and see if the numbers are changing. If the numbers are changing, you also see how does this tie to the productivity, the performance, because highly engaged workforce is expected to result in higher productivity for the organization. So you need to begin to measure that, okay? The other thing you also want to look at is the impact. Okay, if the employees are highly motivated and engaged, what is the impact on your performance reviews, the performance of each person? Are they contributing more or are they not contributing at all? Then you also look at your turnover rates, okay? So turnover rates, are people just running away, disappearing from the workforce even though they are highly motivated, or they are staying with you? That's something you also need to put together, monitor and measure. Okay. Now, if the goal of the performance appraiser is for you to make pay decisions, then there are additional data that you need to put together. This will include data such as the people who work in that organization. What is the perceived fairness of performance-related pay awards? So when you are rewarding people, on what basis do you reward them? Is there a differentiation between a low performer and a high performer? And how do the people within the organization perceive the reward, the pay for this performance? So you need to be able to put this data together. Okay. So that's that on what you need to put together based on the goals that you want to, that you set out your performance system to achieve. Now, the other thing we need to look at is in setting the goals now for the individual. Like I've said earlier, whatever goal you set for an individual, don't just give them, sometimes what happens in organization is that somebody joins, you give them a job description and say, everything in this job description is what you're expected to do. So that's a wrong start. That's a false start. If that is what you do, then you're already starting on a wrong note. At the end of the day, the person will do everything that is on that job description, but it doesn't help your business to grow. Okay. So we need to be clear on what the organization wants to achieve. In terms of, if I take an example of my organization, we're a financial institution. So using that as an example, we want to see customer growth. That's have more number of customers or have new customers. So we set a goal based on the number of customers we want to have. I want to see our profitability rising. Okay, so it means that our cost needs to be low, revenue needs to be high for us to be able to achieve a certain profitability. Okay, in that same vein, we will set the level of revenue that we want to achieve. We will set the level of costs that we want to incur in this business. So these are the things that we want to monitor. Then in terms of the products that we are selling, we also set different goals for the different products that we are selling, so that when all these products, if we achieve all the goals for the different products, the revenue will be achieved. So in a way, all the objectives that you are setting for the organization, they link to each other. If one performs, it will help the other objective to also perform. So for the individuals, it's the same thing that you need to do. You need to then break depending on what they are contributing. So the guy who is in sales will do the sales part. The guy who is in the back office, let's say the guy in operation now, if I go out there as a salesperson, acquire customer, they need to be serviced in the banking hall. Okay. When they come to the banking hall and they're not well treated, the customer disappears. It means that the person who is in the back office, who is in the operations, will have a KPI or a goal that will require him or her to ensure that if 10 customers come in here, those 10 customers need to leave out happy. So if the rating is between 1 to 10, we expect that minimum should be an 8, and it could be above 10 if there's anything 10 plus rating in terms of customer satisfaction. So these are the data that you need to capture. And when you are setting a goal for any person, your goal should have at least 4 elements. There should be something in terms of quantity, okay? How often, how many? Quantity needs to be there. It must be time bound, okay? There must be a time when this needs to be done: daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. So the time is critical. And then the other thing that is also critical is, so I've talked about quantity, time, quality of service.